Welcome to Oxford News This Week. I'm Elgin Nichols.
And I'm Terry Stiles. And in this week's local news, once again, watch out for credit card thieves and learn why our Oxford firefighters are superheroes.
Stay tuned and learn more about these stories and others. The Oxford News begins right now. A Franklin Lake Circle woman found that identity thieves opened charge accounts in her name. The cards were used in several different stores, totaling over $7,000 in purchases. Officers told the woman to put a stop on the cards and gave her an ID theft packet.
After returning home from a hospital, a Davison Street man found his apartment had been broken into. After his inventory of his apartment, the man realized his flat-screen TV and $400 in cash were missing. The robbery is in investigation.
After receiving a collection agency notice for nearly $400, a township resident also reported identity theft this week, stating someone opened a Comcast cable account in his name. The resident told officers he doesn't have a Comcast cable because it isn't available in his subdivision. Police provided a report to prove to the cable company it was not the man's obligation to pay the bill.
A local Oxford mother reported an online bullying of her teenage daughter after receiving a call from the Oxford High School counselors who informed her of an Instagram page posting messages of bullying and harassment. Oakland County Police are pursuing potential action against the offender.
C.J. Carnacchio, editor of the Oxford Leader, has won 7 additional journalism awards from the Michigan Press Association, the MPA. The 38-year-old Oxford resident earned 3 awards for his writing and for his photography work in the 2014 Better Newspaper Contest. Since joining the Leader in May of 1999, Carnacchio has now won a total of 74 journalism awards for his writing and photography skills from the MPA, the Detroit chapter of the Society of Professional Journalists, and the National Newspaper Association. Congratulations from all of us at Oxford Community Television, OCTV.
Thanks to the efforts of 8 Oxford firefighters and a fast-acting friend, a 48-year-old Addison Township resident, Tim Scribner, is alive. Scribner and his friend Jason Griffin and Dan Cooper were doing extensive yard work when Scribner suddenly collapsed. Griffin, a Waterford firefighter and paramedic, began immediately on CPR. However, when medics arrived from Oxford, they still had to shock the man to bring him back to a normal rhythm. According to Oxford Fire Chief Pete Schultz, Scribner had to be shocked 2 more times on the way to the hospital just to keep him alive. All 8 of the Oxford firefighters recently received an Outstanding Performance Certificate from the Oakland County Medical Control Authority for their heroic efforts at keeping Scribner alive, who is now out of the hospital and doing fine.
Oxford School Superintendent Dr. William Skilling has released plans revealing a potential future chapter in his life. After months of speculation, the superintendent has revealed to the public their home in Oxford has been sold. Will the Skilling family be homeless? Not quite. The Skilling family plan is to rent a home in Oxford until his contract expires in 2016. Skilling has shared with the public that he, his wife, and son would eventually want to relocate in northern Georgia where they have close family and relatives. We wish him the very best.
It was an emotionally charged school board meeting this week, first with a public apology from the captain of the Oxford Wildcat football team, senior Blake Stepik, for his participation in an underage drinking party which resulted in benching nearly half of the junior varsity football team. With the apology, Stepik requested that the board allowed him to play in his final game on Wildcat turf. The board then heard from several parents and students who voiced concerns over what appeared to them to be discrimination in the resulting administration of disciplinary actions related to that party. from extracurricular activity coaches, adding charges of bullying by the high school cheerleading team coaches.
Thank you. My name is Mark Stepek. I live at 1890 Lakesview. And I'm here to object to the athletic suspensions that took place recently, specifically for my son Blake, who's here as well. And I have many reasons why I object to the suspension. First of all, the inequality in the scope of the rules in the code of conduct. Athletes are held to a higher standard, yet other extracurricular activities don't have that same cloud over them. Band, robotics team, DECA, whatever other organizations don't have that. It only applies to athletes, and that's an inequality that shouldn't exist. Then I hear, well, in response to that concern, there's the difference between you have a right to go to school, but it's a privilege to play a sport. But then if you look at your own emblem, your triangle of Oxford Community Schools, you'll find the top is academics, and this corner is arts, and in the other corner of the triangle is athletics. And that's been the direction of this school district as long as I've known and been here, that those are all equal. So I don't think that those should be separated out.
And finally, the normally controlled chair, Colleen Schultz, ended trustee comments with a finger shake at members of the audience who appeared to be using the public meeting as a soapbox for upcoming elections.
Yes. Never in 17 years do I get angry at these meetings. But, the grandstanding, the campaigning, this should be about our kids, and that's what it's about for me.
At the time of this broadcast, Athletic Director Mike Wilson would not confirm whether senior Blake Stepek would play out his final game as a senior on Wildcat turf.
That was quite a story, Terry.
Yeah, pretty sad one. You know, when you watch the emotions of the parents and knowing that that boy truly does feel sorry for what he did, leading a bad example. And he's been a football player since 6 years old. However, I also understand, as one of the trustees pleaded to the parents, this cannot be allowed. This just has to stop. It's dangerous. And Bill Skilling also said, as a witness, he's seen children drive home drunk driving and get killed. So I don't know, it's just a really tough one.
It just really comes down to the parents, when you look at this thing,
Sure does.
that they need to be responsible people, for their kids, so they'll grow up to be responsible also.
Yeah, I know. It's really a tough one. I really feel bad. But that's it for Oxford News this week. If you'd like to learn more about these stories and others, stop by your local store and pick up a copy of the Oxford Leader newspaper, and watch us on OCTV.
And coming up next on OCTV, Oxford Local Sports with Andy Curtis, Oxford School News with, John Ochins, and join us with Auto Talk and Science in the News with Dave Kinney.
I'm Terry Stiles, and this is Oxford News This Week, where your news is closer to home.
And I'm Elgin Eccles. Remember, always be kind to your friends and neighbors, and thanks for watching.
You're watching Oxford Community Television, serving Addison and Oxford Townships, keeping it local.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kinney, and these stories are taken from the publication New Scientist. In our first story, well, it may be going too far to say that this year's Nobel Prize in Physics will save the world, but it will certainly make it more efficient. The prize has gone to 3 semiconductor physicists who invented the blue LED. Their invention has transformed the way we light our world, watch movies, and store data. Isamu Akasaki and Hiroshi Amano at Nagoya University in Japan and Suji Nakamura at the University of California in Santa Barbara shared the prize of over $1.1 million. LEDs, as we know them, were invented in the late 1950s, but only came in one color, red. Green followed, but although both were fine for indicator lights and digital watches, researchers really wanted a white LED. These are replacing traditional incandescent bulbs which lose much of their energy as heat. Lighting currently consumes 20% of all electricity, says Colin Humphreys at the University of Cambridge. Switching to LEDs could save 50%. The key to producing white light was to make a blue LED and shine its light through a thin layer of yellow-emitting phosphor. The combination of yellow and blue makes white light much more efficiently than incandescent bulbs. But blue LEDs had stymied researchers until the Nobel trio made their breakthrough in the late 1980s. The reason has to do with the way the devices are made. LEDs are made from multiple layers of semiconductor sandwiched together, one with an excess of electrons and the next with an excess of positively charged holes. Applying a voltage to the device drives the electrons and holes together into the filling layer where they combine to emit light. The color of this light depends on the semiconductor material. Red LEDs, for example, are made from gallium arsenide crystals. Researchers realized that gallium nitride, with a smattering of indium, had the perfect quantum properties to produce blue light. But no one was able to make a semiconductor sandwich with a gallium nitride filling. That's because the crystal structure of the gallium nitride needs to match that of the surrounding layers to prevent defects from forming that wreck the light-emitting properties. In 1986, Akasaki and Amano succeeded in finding a match. Their trick was to add an extra layer to the sandwich. They grew their gallium nitride on top of a sapphire covered with a layer of aluminum nitride. Meanwhile, Nakamura found his own way to create a gallium nitride crystal by growing a thin layer at low temperatures, then subsequent layers at higher temperatures. Nakamura had to work on his idea in secret after bosses at the Japanese company he worked for, Nichia, stopped his research because of a lack of progress. Nakamura, later sued Nichia and won more than $7 million in compensation. The trio went on to turn their blue LEDs into blue lasers found in, guess what, Blu-ray players. Because the wavelength of blue light is shorter than that of red LEDs, the beam can be focused to a tiny spot. This lets you cram more information onto a disc and read it out, giving Blu-rays a better picture quality than regular DVDs. As well as saving money, LED lights can reduce pressures on Earth's resources. Lights made from LEDs last for 100,000 hours. That's 10 times longer than fluorescent lamps and 100 times longer than incandescent bulbs. The electronic circuits that control them give out before the LED, says Humphreys, and he predicts many more advances to come. And on the front of nature, now here's a clever design trick. Birds actively match the color of their nest to their surroundings to blend in. To test if birds chose camouflage for their nest or whether they are well camouflaged simply because of the color of available building tools like twigs and leaves, Ida Bailey and her team at University of St. Andrews in the UK performed a spot of redecorating. They wallpapered the cages of 21 male zebra finches with a new color, blue, pink, or yellow, and offered the birds nesting materials in two colors, one that matched the wallpaper and one that contrasted with it. All the birds built their nests predominantly with material that matched their wallpaper. Bailey says their experiment is the first to show that birds carefully choose the color of their nest materials. But all the birds also included a small amount of the non-matching color, which Bailey says might provide disruptive camouflage, breaking up the outline of the nest to help conceal it from predators. Smart birds. Well, that's it for this edition of Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television, and we'll be right back.
Hi, this is Connie again from Connie's Kitchen, coming to you from Treetop Lodge, the place where magic happens and unicorns roam freely. Of course, you have to come to the lodge to understand about the unicorn thing, but they're everywhere. We'll be doing a wide variety of cooking shows here on Oxford Community Television, and I personally would like to thank the crew for coming out and giving me this opportunity to share my passion and what I love to do with you from Connie's Kitchen. So please join us on OCCTV, join us at the lodge, and look for us all over the town. And if you see unicorns, they probably came from here. See you soon.
I'm John Ochins, and welcome to the Oxford Wildcat School Update. It was a hot night at the Oxford School Board meeting last Wednesday. Parents and students both were raising objections to district policy regarding punishments to athletes and cheerleaders for drinking offenses. Elgin and Andy will have more on that subject in their broadcasts. Plans for the new international student residence were also brought up. Some at the meeting voiced concern that too much attention was being paid to programs such as this rather than our own kids. Our superintendent, Dr. William Skilling, addressed these issues. Here's what he said about test scores, among other things.
When you look at 2007 ACT, and you look at 66% of the graduating class took the ACT, the average ACT score in 2007, when it was a choice, it wasn't mandatory to take it, was 21.7. Last year, not the 2014, but the 2013 class, I don't know what the 2014 is. Our top 66% that took the ACT at a 23.8. That's significant. So we've been improving our test scores as well. And secondly, along that line is, we are putting a tremendous amount of investment in working with our at-risk kids right now. We're doing a tremendous amount. And matter of fact, the money we bring in for Aura is supporting all of our at-risk kids at-risk students after school time that we provide services for, as well as all of our second language learners. We have the most expansive fine arts program in any district, most comprehensive. We're the only district that's all IB. We have the most comprehensive athletic programs to choose from. So I'm really dumbfounded when we say we're not focusing on Oxford.
Dr. William Skilling. Oxford High's robotics team Torque 2137 is on the move again. They will be competing at the Great Lakes Bay Bot Bash in Midland on October 18th. They are taking 2 robots to use in the contest at H.H. Dow High School. In all, there are 16 teams competing. We're looking forward to the results. We visited Clear Lake Elementary the other day, where students were participating in International Walk to School Day. Phys Ed teacher Michael Sudurovich fills us in.
International Walk to School Day is part of the Safe Routes to School program. They also do a Bike to School in May. It's just an opportunity for the students to get out together, be active with their families, enjoy the weather, and learn about how traveling from home to school safely can happen.
The kids walked from Christ the King Church to Clear Lake Elementary on Drainer Road.
We're going to discuss things we thought we were super successful at and things we think we can improve on. So who can mention, let's first talk about our successes. Who's got something that thought we did really well? Gabby, what do you think?
The Super Singers are singing into action over at OES. They had their 3rd rehearsal this week as they prepare for their holiday programs. Teacher Peggy Mueller has been overseeing them for over 20 years and loves every minute of it.
4th and 5th graders only, just because the group is so large, I don't have room for 3rd graders. So 4th and 5th graders, there's no audition. The students just simply sign up and they're in the group.
What do you think their motivation is for wanting to join this group?
I think it's a partial social activity for them to be able to be with their friends. I think they love performance, though, I guess above everything else. They love to sing and they love to perform. We do several concerts in December where we just sing, and then we do a big musical in the spring where we do all different kinds of things. We've done the show Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we've done Aladdin, we've done last year we did a big Disney show, and so the kids get to do not only the singing aspect, but we do some acting as well. And
where are these shows done? Are they done at the Fine Arts Center?
Yes, they sure are.
Oh, good.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we record those, so
Yes,
I'm anxious to go and see them.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but I just can't get over, I mean, these kids are so spirited. They just, they sing their hearts out.
They do.
Really do.
And that's why I had said to them during rehearsal, I mean, because they get very excited, and they almost are like yelling sometimes. And as a director, a lot of times I struggle with students, especially the older students, to sing louder. And so it's a nice thing to have to say, because they get so enthusiastic, they start getting very, very loud. So I have to kind of say, a little bit quieter, don't, start to yell through it. But yeah, they really put their hearts into it. And that's what gets me going. At the end of the day, sometimes when rehearsal's coming up, I can honestly say, I'm like, oh, feeling a little bit tired, but they come in, and how can you not get excited and wake up when you hear those little people singing with their whole heart?
That's Super Singer director Peggy Mueller. Don't forget, we record those concerts. You can call us for DVDs. The Oxford Elementary Super Singers. If that doesn't pick you up, nothing will. Don't forget schooling around at 11 a.m. and 10 p.m. Monday through Friday and at 11 a.m. Saturday. I'll see you on My Life Monday through Friday at 10 and 5 p.m., 10 a.m. on Saturdays. Dave Kenny's up next with Science in the News, then Andy Curtis with sports. This is Oxford Community Television, keeping it local.
This is OCTV, Oxford Community Television, serving Oxford and Addison Townships with the best in local programming. On Charter Channel 191, AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and a website, OCCTV.org. OCTV, we provide local programming that brings you closer to home.
Hello Wildcat fans, I'm Andy Curtis and this is your Oxford Sports Update. Well, pretty bad week for the Cats at home last Friday as the varsity football team lost to West Bloomfield 21-0. Getting beat by speed and on the line of scrimmage, the Wildcats could only muster 3 longish drives the entire game. It was just a bummer. It was just a bummer. The boys will get a chance at redemption this Friday, though, taking their 5-2 record to Bloomfield Hills. Faring a little better, the varsity boys soccer team won the OAA Blue Division last Thursday with Emmanuel Ibarra-led 4-0 shutout of Southfield Lathrop. Great defense and capitalizing on some luck was the second part of the story with a great sliding stop by Connor Bandel to preserve the one-sided game. After the shutout, Oxford improves to 14-1-2, winning the OAA Blue Division with a near-perfect 6-0-1 record, and will open district play this week against Flushing. Again, thank you to Ken Swart from the Oakland Press for pictures of the soccer and football games. Now, big weekend for our college foosball teams with both our Spartans and U of M getting wins on Saturday. So fresh off their big night win over Nebraska, the Spartans faced off against Purdue and the world's largest drum down in West Lafayette, Indiana. Now, in what many thought would be a one-sided game wasn't exactly so, as the Spartan Dogs found themselves with just a 7-point lead with 2 minutes and 59 seconds left in the game. But leave it to the defense to finally start playing like they should, and linebacker Darian Harris came up huge with a pick 6 to lock up the 45-31 win. Now, quarterback Connor Cook had a game, throwing for 3 touchdowns and 1 big interception for a 52-yard touchdown. And to make things even more stressful, Coach D'Antonio called for a fake punt on their own 29-yard line that came up very short. Now, all in all, a win is a win, even if it's not a pretty one, and it was enough to improve the Spartans to 5-1 overall, 2-0 in the Big Ten, and keeping their 8th national ranking. Now, down the road at the University of Michigan, Brady Hoke got a much-needed win under the lights against Penn State, 18-13. Even the Lions had a good weekend with a win at Minnesota on Sunday, 17-3, with the NFL's best defense, as strange as it sounds, chalking up 8 sacks and 3 interceptions. Now, that's the most sack attacks for the team since November 23rd, 1996. And on the other side of the ball, the Calvin-less offense with all its other weapons again struggled, gaining only 255 yards and only had 1 play over 15 yards. And the kicking issue seems to have not gotten that much better with the new flavor of the week, Matt Prater making only 1 of 3 field goals. How is this possible, you ask? I think it's pretty simple. Voodoo. Or hoodoo, or something else otherworldly is vexing the special teams. But it's still looking pretty good overall for now as the Lions share first place in the NFC North with the 4-2 Packers. Now, finally, the Red Wings started their season by beating the Boston Bruins at home last Thursday, but fell in a tough one on Saturday night to the Anaheim Ducks, putting them at 1-1 overall and 3rd place in the Atlantic Division at the start of this young NHL season. Now, the moment you all been waiting for, today's sports vocab word of the day. Pass interference, which is a foul when a player, offense or defense, interferes with a receiver's ability to catch a pass. Now, I am Andy Curtis, and remember you can catch all of our broadcasts of your favorite Oxford High School games between 1 and 6 right here on OCTV, or check us out online under the program section of OCCTV.org. And now make sure you follow us on Twitter at OCTV Sports. There you can follow us as we broadcast from your favorite Oxford High School sports. And remember, this is your community station, so as always, if you have a sports idea, shoot me an email at andrewcurtis23@gmail.com and put OCTV Sports in the subject line. That was all the sports news you need to know. Thanks for watching and have a great day.
Congratulations, OCTV, as the 2014 winner of the American Legion's Best Electronic Media Award, symbolizing your efforts to provide meaningful coverage of veterans' issues and patriotic activities, as well as the American Legion.
Welcome to this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from the publication Automotive News. In our first story, car companies have turned to voice controls to cut down on distractive driving. But systems such as Apple's Siri electronic assistant, which automakers started installing in vehicles in 2013, may be as mentally taxing as the buttons and knobs they replace, research released October 7th by the AAA Foundation for Traffic Safety suggests. For the AAA commissioned experiments conducted by researchers at the University of Utah, test subjects in a driving simulator used Siri to send text messages, post updates on Facebook, and modify their calendar appointments. The test subject averaged 4 points on a 5-point scale used to gauge mental strain while using Siri, a heavier workload than experienced when talking on a handheld cell phone or changing the radio. 3 virtual crashes took place in the driving simulator during the experiments, and 2 of them occurred while using Siri. The findings could be unsettling for the auto industry, which has embraced voice controls over the past decade as anxiety has mounted about distracted driving. In many late-model cars, drivers can push a button on the steering wheel and speak a few words, prompting the car to program a new destination into its navigation system, change the radio station, or place a phone call. The findings could also catch the attention of the U.S. auto safety regulators, who have embraced voice controls to make roads safer. NHTSA put out guidelines in April of 2013 to minimize distraction from in-car control systems that use buttons, knobs, and touchscreens, but refrained for the time being to recommend limits on voice controls. In addition to Siri, the research team tested the voice control systems that automakers offer in systems such as Toyota Entune, Ford Sync, and Chevrolet MyLink. Cognitive load varied widely from brand to brand. The best performer, Toyota's Entune, scored a 1.7 on the 5-point cognitive workload scale, roughly equivalent to listening to an audiobook. The worst, Chevrolet MyLink, scored a 3.7 out of 5. Michael Green, a spokesman for the AAA Foundation, said the group wants voice controls to be as safe as listening to the radio. He praised the Entune system in particular, urging other automakers to follow Toyota's lead. Annalise Bloom, a Chevrolet spokesman, said the University of Utah research used Cruze and Impala sedans from the model year 2013 that were equipped with older, less sophisticated voice recognition systems. She said GM still believes hands-free control are safer than using a cell phone behind the wheel, and that it is working hard to improve those systems. And at Fiat says that the merger with Chrysler will be effective as of Sunday, October 12th, after all conditions for the tie-up to go through are met. Fiat said no creditors had opposed the merger, and the amount of money to be paid to shareholders that chose to sell their shares had not exceeded the $631 million cap set by the company. Shares in the new holding Fiat Chrysler Automobiles will start trading on the New York Stock Exchange on Monday, October 13th, Fiat said in a statement. And on the fuel economy front, the average fuel economy of cars and light trucks increased to a record 24.1 miles per gallon in the 2013 model year, though the pace of improvement slowed compared with the 2 previous years, according to the EPA's annual Fuel Economy Trends Report. The 24.1 mile per gallon average represented a 0.5 mile per gallon increase from the previous year. The 2012 result was 1.2 miles per gallon, up from the prior year, and the second highest rate of increase in 3 decades. The average fuel economy of new vehicles has now increased in 8 of the last 9 model years, the EPA said. For the 2014 model year, the agency estimated the fuel economy of new light vehicles will average 24.2 miles per gallon based on preliminary data, though government officials expect the final figure to be higher. The gains seen for the 2013 models were driven by increased adoption of technologies such as gasoline direct injection engines, turbochargers, and advanced transmissions to boost efficiency, the EPA said. At the same time, average carbon dioxide emissions from light vehicles fell to a record low. For the second straight year, Mazda vehicles averaged the highest fuel economy in the 2013 model year. Nissan's 2013 models posted the biggest improvement in average fuel economy and tailpipe emissions improvements, according to an EPA statement. But both Ford and Toyota had their averages drop from the 2012 model year to the 2013 model year, and I think a lot of that has to do with the mix of automobiles versus trucks. Well, that's all for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and as always, may the wind be at your back as you cruise down life's highways. Stay tuned to Oxford Community Television.